Now I'm just going to draw a central line. You can be very bold with gouache because it's a dark to light medium. You can put down the darks and you can cover darks or medium tones with lighter tones. Can't do that with watercolour, you have to work the other way. You may see that I've set out the palette in such a way that all my hot, warm and lighter colours are in one palette and at one end of it, starting from white. And as they get earthy or darker or colder, like green, blue, the two blues, they're as far away as possible from these. That helps me know where they are for a start, but also it means they don't get adulterated so quickly, end up with dirty colours. And notice I haven't touched the white yet. Now there's some narrowing of the eyes going on here, but it's not due to the cheeks being pushed up as in a smile. They're being narrowed by the eye muscles alone. Just going to have to use a little bit of white now to mix a sort of blue-grey to show where the so-called whites of the eye are. The eyes are not the shape they should be at the moment, but I'm placing them there. I can wait for the paint to dry a bit, and in the meantime try and place everything and see if my original red triangle was correct. So cheekbone places, centre of the mouth, that's where I thought it was. Perhaps a little bit higher, but I don't know. No, maybe it is right, because I'm looking at the width between the eyes, which is very often one eye width again. But again, don't rely on it. Check it. And the key to this expression, three things: the narrowing of the eyes, clenching of the brows, and this slightly curious pursed lip. I'm mixing a fairly cold pink for where the light is catching the lower lip. Tend in the main to work towards light, so if you're going to err on the dark side or the stronger side, and reckon to modify it with lighter colour later on. There's no point in getting really involved in the exact shape of eyes, nose or mouth, as I've said before, until you're sure they're in the right place. I'm still not sure about that. It may be corrected if I just make the eyes a little wider. Yeah, that looks as though it's better. Right, I'm going to take another brush now. This is raw umber. Warm it up a little bit. See, one of the red triangle lines is gone immediately. Just paint over it. It's gone. You'd be very tempted to give the same value of light to this cheek as to that one, but in fact, although that is light compared with the dark, it's not as light as this side, which is catching the light more directly. still a bit wet around the eyes, so I'm not going to touch it just for the moment. Better control if you're going to be painting onto dryish paint, dryish colour. Don't use black unless you're absolutely sure you're seeing it. In the main, unless in the case of a very, very black African skin, you might see it. But even then you probably won't, because the highlights reflect quite blue, and you're going to find blues and greens in the shadow colour. You'll see it in photographs, but that's because the film can't cope with the full range. But if you look into the shadows, you almost certainly find a colour. And if you imagine you see a colour, paint it. And I'm going to define the inner edge of the lower lid. It actually is fairly well defined on this side. Just going to catch it. So the light catches on this side too. Part of the expression of this mouth is due to not just what the lips are doing, but what's happening to the surround of the lips, this pushing out this area. The line from the nose, that's also part of a slightly worried expression, and accent rather more the way that the cheekbones define